Hello, my lovelies. Today I have 88 books to unhaul, so stay tuned. Okay, so I have 88 books here. Some are books that I've read and I've enjoyed, but I don't see myself reading again. Some are books that I read and did not enjoy. Some are ones that I've just lost interest in, or they're part of a series, but I don't have like the earlier part of the series. So lots of different reasons. So let's just get started. So these first 8 books here are all part of the same series. I've read the first couple books in this series and I was enjoying it fine and had every intention of continuing it. But the other day I was looking through my shelves in my bedroom, which have all the series that I'm currently in the middle of. And I was going through and thinking, how interested am I in actually continuing this series? And a lot of these are ones that I'd have to go back and maybe even reread from the beginning because it's been so long. And this was one that just didn't make the cut. It's not one that I'm invested enough in to care, especially with so many books. So this is the Blue Bloods series. So I have Keys to the Repository, Bloody Valentine, Masquerade, Blue Bloods, Revelations, Gates of Paradise, Lost in Time, and the Van Allen Legacy. Okay, next up is Something Like Fate by Susan Colasanti. This is one that I just lost interest in. And same for this, it's a duology. We have The Murder Complex and The Death Code by Lindsay Cummings. And this one, I might have already gotten rid of the rest of the series. I think I did in my update on my Have I Read It special edition, which I can link that video up here, where I ended up unhauling a bunch of stuff, and I think that I ended up unhauling the rest of the series in that video. But this is Tithe by Holly Black. Okay, these next two are books 2 and 3 in a series, and I never got around to getting book 1. And I was looking at it and I'm not interested enough at this point to get book 1. So I'm getting rid of these. And that is The Midnight Star and The Rose Society by Marie Lu. This one is one I believe that I read and it was fine, but I don't intend on continuing the series. And that is Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. Okay, these next two, it's a duology. And I read the first book a long time ago and never got around to reading the second book. And it's a spin-off of another series that I did really enjoy. But again, it was one that I don't care enough about that I would have to reread the first book because it was many years ago since I've read these and I don't really remember enough. And so I'm just getting rid of them. And that is Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. Okay, these 4, this is a full series that recently Marty and I finished reading together and we enjoyed it. For me, it kind of fizzled out the further along we got, and I lost, some interest in it. But I did enjoy the overall series. I just don't see myself reading again. And that's An Ember in the Ashes by Sabata here. So I've got that. I've got the paperback of that. I got the hardcover of A Sky Beyond the Storm. A hardcover of A Reaper at the Gates. And a paperback of A Torch Against the Night. Okay, this next one is the second book in a series, and I read the first book, and I enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars even. But thinking back, I don't know if it was like, I don't think I would rate it 4 stars if I read it now. And it would be more of a 3.5 maybe. And I don't know that I'd want to continue the series. So I'm getting rid of The Night Country by Melissa Albert. Okay, next is books 2 and 3 in the Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy. We have The Crown of Embers and The Bitter Kingdom. I think I've already gotten rid of the first book in a different unhaul, but these were in another room when I put that in there, and I didn't think to get them out. I read The Girl of Fire and Thorns and wasn't the biggest fan of certain things, like there's fat shaming and stuff in there that was just a thing, and it wasn't like a, oh, this is not okay kind of thing. And I did not feel like I wanted to continue. Next is The Next Person You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. This was one that I read, like the first book in this is one I read many years ago, and I did enjoy it, but I don't really care enough to continue, so this one's gonna go. Next, I don't know if this is the whole series or just part of the series. I think there might actually have been more books that have come out, but I haven't gotten them because I've lost interest in this series. And I know that some people love this series, but looking back on it, like reading over what it's about, I'm just not drawn to it. I don't feel compelled to pick it up or, interested. If I were to read the back of it now, like in the store now, I wouldn't pick it up. So I'm getting rid of Blood Witch, Sight Witch, Truth Witch, and Wind Witch by Susan Dennard. Okay, this next one is one that I did read, and I think I gave it like 3.5 stars, maybe 3.75. Not one that I would read again. I literally bought it because it was set here in Chattanooga, and that is Don't Cry by Beverly Barton. But it was fine, but I wouldn't read it again. Next, I have 2 graphic novels that these are ones that I did actually really enjoy, and I think I gave them like 4 or 5 stars when I read them. But I don't think that I would want to buy any more of this series. This is one that if I do want to continue reading it, I'll probably just pick them up from my library or something, because they're pricey and not ones that I could see myself rereading. And if I really wanted to, I could find them in my library. And that is Saga Volume 1 and 2. Another graphic novel that I have here. This is another one that I did really enjoy. And I want to say I gave it like maybe 4 stars when I read it. But I don't see myself purchasing more of these. So again, they're ones that I will likely be able to find in my library. And that is Lock and Key by Joe Hill and Gabrielle Rodriguez. And another book that I did read and enjoy, and I think I gave 4 stars, but it's the first book in a series, and I don't feel compelled to continue the series, and so I'm going to let this one go, and that is Strange the Dreamer by Leonie Taylor. Now, this one I read the first book a long time ago, and it was fine. I want to say I gave it like 3.5 stars, and I've collected more of the series, which I might have already unhauled. I don't know. Or I just need to still find. But this is another one that I'm just not invested enough. I don't care enough to reread the first one or continue. And that is the Shatter Me series. I have this box set of Shatter Me, Unravel Me, and Ignite Me. So these are going. Okay, so this next one is the sequel to a book that I read and I enjoyed, and I think I gave like 4 stars. I ended up with multiple copies of the book. And thinking back on it now, I could see still giving it 4 stars, but I also don't care enough at this point in time to continue, so I'm getting rid of the sequel, and that is Redemptor by Jordan Ifueko. Next is Witchwood by Tahara Mafi. I read and enjoyed Furthermore, but again, don't care enough to continue, so that one's going. And then there were None by Agatha Christie. This was one that I read and I enjoyed it fine. It was okay. I think I gave it 3 stars. Not one I would read again. And I tend to enjoy the retellings of this better than I enjoyed this one. Next is Charade by Lori Foster. This is one that I did read and I did enjoy. I think I gave one of the stories like a 3.75 and I gave one of them like a 3.5. But I won't be reading it again. This is one I finished very, very recently, and that was Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. I can't remember at this point. I think I gave it 3 or 3.5. I think 3.5. It's a weird book. This is actually one that I'm going to ask Xander if he wants and possibly unhaul it to him because he might enjoy it more than I did. Then there's Scenes of the Crime by Jilly Gagnon. This is one of my Once Upon a Book Club books. I read it. I opened all the gifts. I think I gave it like 3 stars. And yeah, I'm not going to be reading it again. This is another one that I finished recently. I should have brought the first book in here. This is the second book in the series. But this is A Crown of Wishes by Roshani Chokshi. So I read A Star Touched Queen. And that may be in a future unhaul later because I don't think I'll read it again because it was like a 3.5 for me. But I wanted to continue and I read A Crown of Wishes thinking it was going to be following the same characters, and it's not. It's following the main character's little sister, and it was fine. I enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.5, but not going to read it again. And I'm also not going to continue the series. Next is 3 Wishes by Leanne Moriarty. And this is one that I recently had come up in one of my Have I Read It's. And when I was reading the description, I was like, I'm just really not interested in this. So it's going. The same goes for this book. It's one that I'm not really interested in. After reading the description again on it, it came in a subscription box. So that's the Borgia Confessions by Alyssa Palombo. This was also part of that Have I Read It. This is Elysium Girls by Kate Pentecost, and not one I'm interested in. Then we have Weave the Lightning by Corey L. Lee. Again, it was all part of they were subscription boxes. This was in my Have I Read It's, and when it came up, I was like, I read the description. I'm like, I'm really not interested. Then we have Kingdom of Souls by Rena Barron. Same for this. Oh, this one, it's another box set. This is the Mouse Heart Trilogy by Lisa Fielder. And it has Mouse Heart, Hopper's Destiny, and Return of the Forgotten. And I read like, I want to say around 10% or so of the first book, and I really just did not care. And so I DNF'd it, and I'm going to get rid of the whole set. Okay, so this is another series that I read the first book. I thought it was just an okay book. But was interested in continuing, and at this point I'm not interested anymore. And that is Otherworld, Other Life, and Other Earth by Jason Segel and Kristen Miller. And I feel like I'm missing some of the books from this series. Not sure where they are. I'll have to find them. But whenever I do, they'll also go into an unhaul. This is a series that I read the first 2 full books and the novella in. but I have no interest in really continuing. And that's the One Dark Throne. So I have One Dark Throne, Queens of Finburn, and Three Dark Crowns. I feel like I have more of this series, but I don't know where they are. But those are going. We still have one full stack back here. Pull a few of them down here. Okay, so this one was one that I can't remember if it was just me like looking through and going, what do I want to get rid of, or if it was a Goodreads rating, or just that I'm not interested. I can't remember. It could be all of the above, actually. But that's Rebel Mechanics by Shauna Swedson. So this one is one that I was a little torn about getting rid of because I personally don't think I'm interested in reading this book. However, there's some connection because this author is somebody that actually my mom knows personally. She went to school with him, like grade school and all that. She knows him very well. And all of his books are set in the city where my mother and myself were born, where my grandmother lived up until she couldn't live on her own anymore. And so this one was hard to decide to get rid of for that reason. But I'm thinking it's a big book that I just really don't have any interest in reading at all. And literally the only reason I was keeping it was for that purpose. And I don't want to keep it. And I feel kind of bad about it, but I don't want to keep it. And that is Natchez Burning by Greg Iles. And this is a chunker of a book, but I have no interest in reading it. These next two are ones that were also difficult because I'm a huge Buffy fan. I love all things Buffy, the original cast and all that stuff. But I did not really enjoy this so much. That is Slayer and Chosen. So I read Slayer and I was kind of like, I'm not a huge fan. But I was going to give it, continuing and read The Chosen or Chosen, but I just don't care enough. For me, Slayer wasn't good enough to warrant holding on to it for all these years. Next is another one that I don't have interest in anymore. That's Generation Dead by Daniel Waters. This one, I read the main series, but I don't care to read this novella that I have, so I'm going to get rid of the novella. And that is The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner, an Eclipse novella by Stephanie Meyer. Then I have A Lost Boy by Christina Henry. I'm not a huge fan of how she does these retellings. I read one of them or something, and I was just like not a fan at all. And I'm getting rid of all of them. Then I have The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This book was part of it was great. I can't remember what I gave it. I want to say ended up giving it like 3 stars, maybe 3.5 stars. Part of this was great. It was very atmospheric, very spooky. I was feeling it, and then boom, it just ended, and I'm like, what the heck? So I felt like it just ended out of nowhere when things were just starting to get good, and it could have been more. Then we have The Witches by Roald Dahl. I just don't see myself reading it again. I did read it. I did enjoy it. It was fun, but I don't think I'll read it again. Okay, I've got the rest of the stack over here. So this is one, again, I read the first book. I don't remember what I rated it, but I do remember that I enjoyed it and I was interested in continuing. But at this point, I don't care enough about it anymore. I'm really going to have to start doing where like I read the whole series just back to back. Otherwise, I feel like, depending on the series, but I feel like a lot of times I lose interest in it after it's been a long time. So I have The Fairy Path, The Immortal Realm, The Lost Queen, and The Enchanted Quest by Freywin Jones. Okay, so this was another one that I read the first book and I didn't really care for it, but because one of my favorite booktubers, this is her all-time favorite book or series, I really wanted to give it another try and reread it and, see if maybe at the time when I read it, I just wasn't vibing with it. But I just don't care to pick it back up. And it doesn't appeal to me. So I'm happy for her that she loves this series and she literally reads it every year. I feel that way about Cassandra Clare books. I know she does not. Like, I don't think she's actually read them, but she's like, I'm not going to read them. But, so, it's okay. Everybody's got their own taste. I enjoy watching her videos, even if not all of our tastes align in books. Some of them do, like certain thrillers and things like that. But anyway, the booktuber I'm talking about is Books and Lala. She loves this series. And that is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. So I did read The Raven Boys all the way and didn't really care. So I'm getting rid of The Raven Boys, The Dream Thieves, The Raven King, and Blue Lily, Lily Blue. I've held on to them for years thinking I would give them another chance, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. Alright, next up is one that I'm getting rid of because I have multiple copies. I think I ended up accidentally buying multiple copies, and that is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. This is literally a brand new edition, but again, I bought more than one. Then we have Slide by Jill Hathaway. This is one that I think was like low Goodreads ratings, or just that I read through the synopsis and didn't care anymore or something. I think that was a low rating though, and I was looking to cull my books. This one was a low rating. This was actually one that I had a hard time getting rid of because it was one that I was kind of interested in, but because of the ratings on Goodreads, I was like, I'm going to let this one go. I'm sure it's rated low for a good reason. Anyway, that's Devilish by Maureen Johnson. I have read other things by her and really enjoyed it, but also those books, if you look on Goodreads, they're definitely rated higher than that. Next up is Blood Magic by Tessa Gratton. I think this was along the same lines as that. Same with Complete Me by Jay Kinner. These next three books are books 2, 3, and 4 in a series. And I think I started reading book 1 and DNF'd it. Or just decided I wasn't all that interested. But it's one that Xander is totally into. So I gave book 1 to him. And these 3 are probably also going to go to him. So we have The Merciless 2, 3, and 4 by Danielle Vega. And then these are books that when I bought them, I thought they were standalones, but they're not. And they're books, I think books 2, 3, 4, and 5, something like that. Yeah, so they're books 2, 3, 4, and 5. And when I looked, after having them, and I looked them up and realized that they were all part of a series, and then I read what book 1 was about, I was like, I'm really not interested in that. I was kind of interested in these other books, but they're literally following the same characters, I think. And so I'm just like, nah. So we have Speak of the Devil, Discretion, A Good Killing, and The Last Good Girl by Alison Leota. So all of those are going. Okay, and this last book that I have here Is book 3 in a series, and I don't have books 1 or 2, so this one's also going to go, and that is Into the Still Blue by Veronica Rossi. So those are all 88 books that I am unhauling at this time. It's a lot. But it feels good getting rid of them because I'm being much more careful, and I don't know if careful is the right word. But I'm trying to be much more thoughtful on which books I'm hauling. And back in the beginning, I was just hauling all the books. And my reading preferences have changed over the years. Also, like, I don't read a lot of middle grade anymore because, when I started this channel, Xander was middle grade. And so we read a lot of middle grade and children's books together because that was literally, 7 years ago. So he was 11, right? Yeah, 11 years old when I started this channel, and he's 18 now. So we don't really read together like that. And if we do, we're listening to an audiobook together on a trip, and it's a thriller or a horror or something like that. So yeah, reading changes. And also back when I first found Book Outlet and I was buying like all the books, now I don't get on Book Outlet nearly as often because I still want to buy all the books, but I try to be a little more thoughtful in that. Mistakes still happen because I'm looking at a book right now that is going to end up being in my next unhaul because I recently filmed a Book Outlet haul, and there was a duplicate because somehow I accidentally hit that thing twice, and so I ended up buying 2 of the same book. But that's just going to be on another unhaul later in the future, not this one. But yeah, it feels good to get rid of ones that I really just don't see myself wanting to pick up. And because I have such limited space, it feels good to get rid of these and make space for the ones that I am more excited about. Have you read any of these books? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!